we're on. Yay. Okay. So we're gearing up to go live here on Facebook. We're recording this. If you want to see all of these webinars that we've done, you can go to bartonwebinar.com, and there is a link to all of these webinars about type 2, about low carb eating. We've had so many great talks with Dana, with Joe, with Dr. Saunders. Make sure you check all those out. But today on our low carb webinar with Dana, we're going to talk about something that is very interesting. And I asked Dana, she works with a lot of clients, and something that comes up often is under eating. And I thought, well, this is going to be a great topic because everybody wants to find out that they can actually eat more, don't they? So
Yes.
We're going to chat about that today. But as we get started here, feel free to put your questions in the Q&A if you're watching us live. If you're watching us on Facebook, you can post them there as well. Just a quick disclaimer, we're not medical doctors, and consult with your doctor before you do anything that is recommended here. Okay. So I'm not sure if Joel will be hopping on with us today. He's kind of working on some stuff, so we shall see. But looks like we're getting some people hopping on. So say hello when you guys hop on. Barbara, Bob, Clean, Cynthia, hello, Deborah, Karen. We got some people hopping on Facebook as well. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, let's do this. Dana, will you give us just a quick overview of maybe who you are and what you do?
Sure. So my name is Dana Cushing, and I am the owner of Dana Cushing Health. I provide health and wellness nutrition coaching to clients who are looking for support with weight management, blood sugar management, just improving their lifestyle in general is what I love to do in my 10-week program. And you can find me at danacushinghealth.com. Facebook is Dana Cushing Health, or Instagram, same thing, just dana.cushing.health.
Awesome. Okay. Cushing is Cushing, just so you guys know. I'll actually probably post that here in the chat, but let's go ahead and get started. I'm super excited to talk about this. So I'm going to kind of just let you chat about this. Under eating, and how do we know if we're not eating enough?
Sure. So many of the clients that I work with, the majority come to me overweight or obese. I do have some that are normal weight, but still they would like to lose a couple of pounds. And when I go through my initial intake, I always like to know, what does a day of eating typically look like for you? From the time you wake up in the morning all the way to when you go to bed, what is everything that you have to eat and drink? And I like to take a weekday and a weekend into consideration. And when I review that with most people, they are shocked when I say, oh gosh, it sounds like you're under eating, but yet they have 100 pounds to lose. Well, what happens when we get all of this messaging from media, the newspapers, magazines, televisions, social media, eat less, move more. What do? We cut our calories way back. And for some reason, this magic number of 1,200 ends up in our head. And it's like, oh my gosh, I should only be eating 1,200 calories. But yet we are super stressed. We are on the go all day long, and maybe going for walks. And if you're going to the gym, we are under eating and underfeeding our bodies. So I really like people to take a look at not only what are you eating, when are you eating, and how can we change that without you feeling but I can't eat more because I'm full. So how do we increase your calories without making people feel miserable? Does that make sense, or does anyone have questions on that?
So, when you're going through someone's food diaries, what stands out to you? What are you seeing to make you, are you counting calories? Is that how you know they're under eating, or what is it that you're seeing that people often, or I guess kind of tend to do when eating?
So when people come to me tracking their food, that's an easy fix for me because I can say, oh, yes, we need to fix here. But the majority of people do not track their food. But when someone tells me, well, I have coffee for breakfast or maybe a quick drive-through Starbucks drink, and then I have a salad for lunch, just a bag salad, no protein, and then for supper, I have pizza. Well, that is number one, the biggest thing is not enough protein. And when we're not eating enough protein to stimulate our muscles, then we can't have that body composition change, weight loss change happen, or the muscle growth happen that we would like to have. So I really like people to focus, even if you're not going to track your calories, how can we get more protein into your diet? That's always the number one thing. And it really isn't, we aren't educated on the importance of protein. So if we could just, with your coffee in the morning, could we even add, could it be something as simple as a protein shake? Or could you do hard-boiled eggs in the morning? Or how about a hamburger? I know we've talked about having different, whatever food for breakfast, you're just breaking your fast. How can we get you some calories in the morning if you're a breakfast eater, to start your day off on the right foot? And then same thing for lunch, rather than just bringing that bag of salad to work, or, if you're working from home, going to the fridge to open up that salad, could we open up a can of tuna and throw some protein on there? Or do you have some leftover shredded chicken, rotisserie chicken that you could put on top? And then same thing for supper, just how could we get you more protein? Let's say you want pizza, but could we avoid the crust, and your family's having pizza, you slide off the toppings, but then you have an additional protein on the side, like extra chicken or maybe a burger on the side. So it's just becoming aware of where are you lacking the calories, and it's different for everybody. Like I said, there are some people that come to me and they're eating probably too much, so then we can dial that back. But the majority of people, I would say probably 9 out of 10 people that I work with, are usually not getting enough. And if they are getting enough, it's on too many fat and carbs, because those are the easy things to get. Protein is the hardest nutrient to consume.
Very interesting. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about protein. What are your recommendations? Obviously, everyone varies a little bit, but what are the recommendations for the amount of protein that we should be eating each day?
Sure. So following off of the research of Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, who she coins herself the muscle-centric physician, and under the researcher of Don Layman, they recommend minimum of 90 grams per day. So 30 grams at each meal. But now if you're more active, have a little bit more body weight to lose, you can increase that. Some people like to say even going up to 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass. So let's say if I weigh 140 pounds, I will eat 140 grams of protein, even though that's more than my lean body mass, because I'm very active. So I like to hit that about 140 grams per day. And I do that by tracking most days. I don't track all days, but to help you understand how much protein you're getting, it might be a good thing to, just for a couple weeks, measure your protein. You can get a food scale on Amazon for $10 or less, depending on the day. And just put your protein on that scale and know about 1 ounce of protein, 1 ounce of weight will equal about 6 grams. I mean, give or take just a little bit. But let's say you put 5 ounces of chicken on your scale, you can know that you're getting about 30 grams of protein. And when you weigh out 5 ounces of chicken, you might be kind of surprised at how much chicken it actually takes to get to that 30 grams of protein. And many people say, well, do I weigh it raw or do I weigh it cooked? I do not like to weigh raw protein and then portion out my sizes. So just be consistent with whatever you do. I always just use cooked. And I know I'm probably getting a little bit more protein, because 4 ounces of raw beef is not going to weigh as much as 4 ounces of cooked beef. So I probably get a little bit more protein, but I'm consistent. So I would challenge you to get a food scale and track your protein intake and just see how much are you getting. Many of my clients aren't even getting 70 grams of protein per day. So, and if you feel okay and you're happy with your weight, you're happy with how you are able to move throughout the day, maybe you don't need 90 grams of protein. But for most of us, we are under eating that nutrient, and you can see how you start to feel better when you increase your protein intake. And we can't track what we don't measure, so you don't have to forever measure your protein. But once you put your chicken or some ground beef on a food scale and say, oh, this is what 5 or 6 ounces looks like, then you can kind of learn to eyeball it. And that's the goal. It's like, how can we just make this way our lifestyle and make it feel flexible and enjoyable, yet still meeting our health goals?
That's so good. How are you, or how do your clients track what they're eating? Are you using an app? Are they writing in notebooks? What do you recommend?
Sure. So my favorite app is MyFitnessPal. Some of my clients are like, yep, it's just it's intuitive for them. They don't have a problem. And many of them still are pen and paper, and that's totally fine. And then if they just send me pictures, even pictures of what their notebooks look like, they like that. There are many apps out there. Some people like Chronometer, Lose It. Do you use anyone in particular, Leslie, or have you in the
I've
past?
used mostly MyFitnessPal.
Yeah. Yep.
That was just always, but I will say there's nothing more motivating to me than like a new pen and a new notebook to keep track of things.
Right.
So if that's what you
Yes.
need, do it. So,
Yes.
I have done
Yeah.
that also.
Yep.
Your phone's just
Mhm.
very convenient because it's typically always with you.
Right. And I do like the option, if you do have a packaged food. I mean, even if you're going to do blueberries, for example, or strawberries frozen, it's like you can just quickly scan it
Yes.
and have it entered for you. So I just got off a call with a female client who doesn't have very much weight to lose, but she just can't get the scale to budge. And looking through her MyFitnessPal, she's eating, averaging 900 to 1,000 calories a day, and she's just not hungry. So how do you start if you are under eating? Once you've tracked your food for a little bit, how can you start to increase your calories? Well, fats are an easy way to increase your calories. It only takes a tablespoon of olive oil to get you 100 calories. So maybe cook up your protein, your chicken breast, in some olive oil, and then you have an extra 100 calories. It's just, how can we get your body to take in a little bit more food and feel like, oh, I can start to burn more because you're giving me more. If we just stop at this 1,000 calorie, our body, it's like a thermostat. We're only going to burn 1,000, and we can't go any lower. So for my client that wants to lose weight, I can't take her any lower than 1,000 calories to get that scale to move. So we're going backwards, and we're trying to bump up her calories so we can get to a point where we've got to get that metabolism going again. If you think of it like,
Dana, your microphone's kind of doing that
oh, am I cutting out again?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't remember what we did last time, but
Audio. My speaker.
Like, such good information. I don't want us to.
Okay. Yep. Is it back now?
It's still.
Or is it still cutting? Can I log out and log back in?
No problem. Okay, guys. So while we are waiting for her to come back, I'm just going to mention, something like MyFitnessPal, if you're using that app, one of the benefits of that I appreciate is that you can kind of map out your day for what you're going to eat to make sure that you're getting the right amount of protein throughout the day. So if you know that you want 90 grams of protein, all of a sudden you get to your third meal of the day and you're like, okay, I've only had 45 grams of protein. And you're like, how am I going to get more protein? It's now 6 o'clock at night. I'm not even hungry. You know what I mean? So sometimes it is really beneficial to be able to go ahead and map out your day before you even start. Oops, I got to add Dana here. 1 second. So that is one of the benefits that I really appreciate. And then Dana had also mentioned that things are preloaded, which can save you so much time. So other people have uploaded, the different foods that you're probably likely to eat. One thing I love too is, like, let's say you bought a dozen eggs at Aldi, and it'll have the Aldi brand or whatever, and then you go in to scan it, and it'll, or even type it into the app, and it'll say Aldi dozen eggs, whatever, and it's already completely filled out for you. So one of those, that is a benefit of using an app like that. Okay. Are you better? Let's see.
Yes, am I back now? Is it better?
Yeah, it's good.
Gosh, I wonder what that is. So, and I said I wasn't going to forget where I was headed. I don't know if you remember where we were at. But just tracking and weighing and slowly increasing your calories without feeling so miserable will be the ticket. And understanding what we've been told, this eat less, move more, it just doesn't work. And it is a hard mindset thing to get over, because it's like, well, I want to lose weight, so I bet I'm not going to eat. Start tracking your food to understand where are you at, and then we can realize, oh gosh, I'm only eating 1,200 calories. Maybe I need to eat a little bit more. And if you ever want extra help with that, feel free to reach out to me. I would be happy to help you navigate that, because it's different for everybody. And yes, we're talking about under eating. Usually it's protein, but then, so your energy, your carb and fat, where do those fall in? What is your metabolic health like? Are you able to add in a few more carbs, or do you need to keep the carbs low to help support your blood sugars, and add in a little bit more fat? And it can be tricky, but when you just start to understand that, when you're eating the whole food and eating enough of that, it does start to become easier and not so overwhelming.
So just to help kind of frame our minds around this, what is happening to the body when we are getting enough protein?
Sure. So we are getting the signal to not lose muscle. So when we get all of those amino acids, it's like, oh, let's keep that muscle. And why is that important to keep the muscle? Muscle is our most metabolically active, or it's our biggest burner of energy. The more muscle that we have on our body, the more we can burn calories throughout the day. And not only can we burn calories, but it's going to keep us upright. And, so we can bend over and pick something up off the ground, whether it's a pencil or a grandchild, right? We need that muscle on our body. And if we want to keep our muscle or grow our muscle, we have to give it the signal. And the signal is protein. So yes, great question as to why. Why do we want to increase that protein? So we can stay upright and mobile.
That's good. I think for me, I always think I can eat or drink anything as long as I know, even if it tastes terrible, if it's beneficial to me, I can do it. So it's always good, I think, to just know why you're trying to increase your protein. I know you'll start to find some things as I have tracked protein at different stages in my life, and I get toward the end of the day and be like, oh my goodness, I am so short on protein today. And there, you'd be surprised at the things that you can eat that do have protein. For example, even my collagen that I add to things has protein in it. So even if you're just a little bit short, or you need a little bit more, there's things like that. My whole family's a big fan of deviled eggs. We don't add any sugar or anything into them. There's just a lot of things that you can do to get protein. We've talked about this before, but those of you who are joining, let us know what your favorite protein options are. If you're like, okay, I know I need to eat, what do I do? We have this great spot locally to us. It's called Daily Clean Food and Drink. And I love that you get to like create your own bowls using, oh, maybe zoodles, zucchini noodles, or like a vegetable type rice, or I don't even know what all the other options are, but there's many options.
Yeah.
And then you have your choice to add protein on top of that. And so you get to pick. And if we can sometimes get in that mindset, even of doing that at home, like building the base. I know Dana has talked about this so many times, building that base with your good vegetables and whatever you need, adding things that you love and
Mhm.
then putting protein with it. I mean, food can be really enjoyable. Who knew you could lose weight and enjoy food, right?
Right. And that's just it. It's like have your protein ready. I think we've mentioned this before, preparing your protein. That's another big thing that I see my clients struggle with, not only getting enough calories, but then how are they going to have this protein ready? So the last call I was just on, her goal is to send me 2 beef meals that she's going to make this week and 2 chicken meals.
Oh, that's good.
And then, so she's got 4 meals, but hopefully it will be also, it'll turn into 8 or 9 to help get her through some lunches and maybe a repeat dinner as well. So, get your kitchen messy, brown up 5-6 pounds of hamburger if you have to. And if you have two rotisserie chickens, shred them both. You'll have chicken for the week and beef for the week, depending on how big your family is. Maybe you only need 1 rotisserie chicken, but just having that on hand. But let's say life happens, you got busy and you're like, oh, I need more protein, like Leslie was saying, collagen, um, protein shakes. And it's just a supplement. They are just that. But for me to reach my protein goals through the day, I typically will have at least 1 protein shake per day.
Okay.
When you're looking at protein shakes, take the fewer ingredients on the label, the better. My preference is always a stevia sweetened protein powder, but the sucralose or Splenda, I prefer not. It's hard to find though, because that's just a cheap sweetener that most protein companies are going to use. If that's all you have, I'd rather see you get the protein in than skip it. So, but really with my favorite protein powders, it's limited ingredients and they use stevia. Optimum Nutrition has one that's naturally sweetened. Blue Bonnet is naturally sweetened with stevia. That's Amazon. Leslie, remind me, is BioTrust? I wanted to say the BioTrust is stevia.
I believe so. I haven't used it in a
Yeah.
little while.
Yeah, I want to
But
say
I
that it
believe
is
so.
sweetened with stevia. So I know Joe likes the good people at BioTrust. So that would
Yes.
be an option. Um, which other one have I seen? Ascent protein at Target. I just happened to see it in the bag, and it's also on Amazon, but it was on sale at Target. I didn't buy a bag to try, but it's Ascent. And that
Okay.
was sweetened with stevia. So I feel like more companies are becoming aware, like we've got to pull these junk sweeteners out.
Yes.
Just because, I mean, like I say, one time isn't going to hurt us.
Yeah.
It's just we have this bucket, and when we get too much of one thing, then it spills
Yep.
over, and then our gut health really can be impacted. And when the gut's impacted, then our brain's impacted, and everything
Yes. No,
becomes impacted. So
this is good. And then also, many of the people who are on this webinar are, maybe pre-diabetic or have type 2, so we really recommend you're finding those low carb options. As we talk about in other webinars, if you're just getting started with a diabetes solution kit, you want to stay under 20 carbs in phase 1, or that grows. Maybe you're past that and you're adding more carbs, but just be conscious of that. I mean, I'm always surprised when I go and look at some protein powders or drinks and I'm like, they'll be like, it's 25 carbs, and I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? So just, you guys all know this, but just a reminder, just because it has a good sweetener doesn't necessarily mean it's low carb. So make sure you're looking at that.
Very, very good point. And, companies now that protein has become more popular, they like to throw the word protein around a lot. And when there's 25 carbs and 20 grams of protein, it's a carbohydrate drink, not a protein drink. And even with bars, like my favorite store, Costco, their brand, their Kirkland, they have high protein bars, but I look at the carb and the sugar and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's got 7 grams of protein, but a gajillion grams of carbs.
Yep.
So just really become savvy with your labels and understanding. Yes, when you're in that phase 1 of the diabetes solution kit, 20 grams, that goes away pretty fast. So typically your whey-based proteins will have fewer carbs than the plant-based, because the plant-based proteins will use pea, rice, sometimes use pumpkin seed and hemp seeds, but those carbs creep up really fast in the plant-based proteins. And some people, their blood sugar is able to tolerate it, but when you're in that stage 1, I would try and stay away from a plant-based protein. I do have the Orgain protein right now, and there's 11 carbs, and I only get 20 grams of protein. So it's you have to decide where you're at with your carbohydrate tolerance, or where you're at in the program.
And also keep in mind that we always, when we're talking about carbs, you're taking the total carbs minus the fiber. Just keep that in mind when you're calculating. We get a lot of questions about that, how to calculate net carbs. So sometimes if it has a lot of fiber, then, it might be okay. We have a question here from Barbara. She said, I've been eating a lot of chicken, eggs, and tuna. I need some other protein foods. So anybody else have recommendations? Let us know. Otherwise, what do you think? What are some good options? We're talking a little bit about that now, but.
Sure. So chicken, eggs, tuna, perfect sources of protein. Just to change it up, and if you don't want meat, how about cottage cheese? Cottage cheese is a nice protein option. Yogurt, as long as it's low sugar. You can do a nice Greek yogurt, and in 3/4 of a cup, or if you weigh it on the scale, it's 170 grams. You can get probably 19 grams of protein in a Greek yogurt. I will also take Greek yogurt and add maybe a half of a scoop of protein powder with that, and throw a little peanut butter on top. So I'll do like a little vanilla yogurt peanut butter swirl type of thing if you just don't want meat at a particular meal. Sure. But one thing you might be missing is red meat. If you eat red meat, Barbara, I always encourage red meat if that goes along with your eating plan, just because it is one of the most nutrient dense foods that we can eat. So ground beef, like I say, I love to brown up a whole bunch at a time. Save some for Mexican, go some Italian, maybe a Philly cheesesteak with green peppers, onions, and pepper jack cheese for another meal. But people really notice when they start to add red meat back in, if it's been out of their nutrition plan for a while, how much more energy that they feel. And even just emotionally, they're like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better with my mood. So mood and energy. Again, if that doesn't fit into your meal plan, of course, I understand that, but just be aware that might be something to add.
It's so good. And then I would also encourage you, if you're looking for low carb meals, you can always Google things too. You're going to find lots of options. One of the things that I like now, Barbara doesn't have Costco, she's in Canada, but hopefully you have another store that you're able to find some things in. My sister just went to Costco and was able to find bacon wrapped jalapeno poppers. They're like stuffed cream cheese stuffed jalapenos wrapped in bacon, and then also like a stuffed chicken breast. They're all kind of low carb with not a lot of ingredients, and I feel like they're starting to come out with more and more of those things. So, oh, and Dana just posted something.
So speaking of Googling things, on my Pinterest board, I have healthy insulin recipes or healthy blood sugar. So if you follow that link, it'll take you to my Pinterest, and I have it alphabetized all the way from A to Z, adult beverages all the way down to zucchini, healthy insulin. So good. Beef, healthy insulin, chicken, healthy insulin, Mexican, Italian. Yeah, I just try and pick and choose things as I go along, and I have some yummy ideas on there, and a lot of them are the higher fat. So maybe going along with the Barton phase 1, if you're, depending on where you're at, some of it might be too much fat for you, but you can tweak recipes to make them fit your needs. And
Uh,
again, if you have questions on that, I'd be happy to help you.
awesome. I know you need to get going. The webinars go
Okay.
so fast when we're doing this.
I know. Is there
One
another question out there?
Well, we have some comments on Facebook, but Linda
Yes.
was wondering about monk fruit or date sugar. And then the next part of it says Costco has pizzazz labeled health products and may have the canola oil or blend of canola oil, which is horribly bad for human intake. Yes, Linda, we've talked about that on our webinars as well. But what are your
Yes.
thoughts about the monk fruit or date sugar?
So two totally different things. Monk fruit is a plant-based sugar replacement and typically does not have impact on blood sugar. It can. I know I've heard Dr. Saunders say you will still get an insulin release with any type of sweetener. So just be aware that it is a sweetener that is labeled as blood sugar safe. It is one of the ones I like because I can tolerate it and most of my clients can tolerate a monk fruit sweetener. It's also called Swerve or the Lancanto monk fruit. That it's probably one of my favorites. But again, if you're testing your blood sugars, just test, don't guess. See what's happening to you after you have it. Date sugar, does your metabolic health, like, are you okay to tolerate if you don't want a fake sweetener? Are you okay to tolerate that date sugar? Most people that I work with are not, because even though it's dates or if it's organic date sugar, it still is sugar. So again, that would depend on the individual and if you're able to handle a little bit of that.
Do you have just a couple of minutes or do you need to
Yeah,
go?
I'm okay.
Okay, let's just do a couple more questions that have just come up.
Yes.
One thing I want to mention, Linda is on Facebook and she's just wondering about milk cow dairy. You know, she doesn't believe it's a good recommendation, but one thing that I just want to quick mention is, and I'll let Dana speak to this a little bit as well. We agree with you, Linda. We do talk even in the diabetes solution kit, but for people who are just getting started, even with phase one, sometimes it's really hard to eliminate absolutely everything. And I think people tolerate things a little bit differently as well. And so, like for me, we don't need a lot of dairy either. So I do understand that. But I think also some is okay. And often as we're switching our diet, it's really hard to eliminate all of those things. But just like going from regular foods to organic foods, of course, organic is ideal. It's not always in the budget right away. You know, those are things we like to transition to. So I totally know what you're saying. Any thoughts on that, Dana?
Yes, I agree. Dairy can be very beneficial for some people. Most of my clients, it is not. It's inflammatory. It's causing gut issues. And even skin breakouts. But like I have a teenager who I will buy the Fairlife dairy. It's not organic, but again, it's like I've got a lifestyle that I'm trying to create here, so not everything I buy is organic. But the Fairlife milk it's half the sugar. So rather than 12 grams of sugar per 8 ounces, there's only 6 grams of sugar. And she's still getting the healthy fats and the calcium, the vitamin D from that milk. Now she might not always use the milk for the best thing. It might go on a bowl of cereal every once in a while, but she's getting some protein with less sugar in that form of dairy.
Sure.
So I agree. It might not be good for everybody, but where are you at and does it work for you?
Yes. Okay, William is asking if palm oil is a good oil. I have bought peanut butter with organic peanuts, organic palm oil, and salt with no added sugar. With some fiber, the net carbs in 2 tablespoons is 2 net carbs. I will go to the stir type if palm oil is not a good oil. Thanks for your question, Bill.
Yes, thank you. Very good question. So palm oil, if it says sustainably sourced, that's the biggest concern with palm oil from what I know. I would be curious to know Dr. Saunders' thoughts on that. It is a fruit oil and it doesn't take a whole lot of processing. But the biggest thing is we don't want to clear out our rainforests or the orangutans. That's the biggest concern is what I have read. So I do have some products that use palm oil, but it does say sustainably sourced on there. So if anybody has any other input on that, I'm not 100% well versed on that, but that's what I know as of right now.
Okay. Mary, hello, Mary. For a low carb diet, what is the max on the number of carbs in a meal? And so, Mary, I think you've been around. So if you're doing the diabetes solution kit, the program with Dr. Saunders, he just says if you're in phase 1, it's 20 grams per day total. So it doesn't even really matter how you're breaking that up, I guess. But that's his recommendation. Now, if you've graduated from phase 1, your blood sugars are in check, or you've been working on that, that may vary. What do you recommend for your clients, Dana?
And I agree. It depends on where you're at with how many carbs you can tolerate. And once you get out of that phase 1, what is low carb to you and your body? Some people can tolerate 30 grams of carbs per meal. And for up to 6 months, I've had clients only able to tolerate 15 grams of carbs per meal, or no carbs per meal. And just eating, even less than 10 net carbs per day. So it just all depends, but definitely if you're in that phase 1, I would stick less than 20, and you can divide that up throughout the day how you want. Or if you choose like, okay, I'm going to save my carbs for this meal, then just stay 0 carb the rest of the day.
Awesome. Oh, our friend Meg is on. She said Nutiva palm oil is sustainably sourced. So awesome.
That's the kind I have used before, and I do like that. It makes a really good low carb cookie.
Ooh, interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Final question from Carol. What are your feelings about almond milk?
Almond milk. Ooh, that's tough. So again, that's another sustainability question. It takes so much water to water our almond trees that are in California. I do have almond milk at my house, not always, but it is an option for people as they step down off of milk. I feel like it's a better than option as long as you get the unsweetened. Because if you just go regular almond milk, you'll be getting 16 grams of sugar per 8 ounces, and that's more than a regular glass of milk. So just make sure it's the unsweetened almond milk. How does your gut feel? There are so many, like there's filler, like gums in the almond milk to make it creamy and taste good. So just pay attention to how you feel with it. And if you don't feel well, I wouldn't do it. But I do prefer almond milk over a soy-based milk, or definitely I do not recommend the oat milk, which is the latest trend.
Yes. Okay, you guys, great questions. This was so much fun. So again, are you under eating? I feel like I'm going to be reevaluating some of my stuff here. So hope this was good information for all of you who are joining us as well. Dana, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom. This is always just a good, quick little webinar that we're able to do every other week. So thank you so much. Again, you can find Dana on all the social places, Dana Cushing, Cushing. And that's it for today. So thanks again. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.